South Florida isn't just a place to live, it's a complete vibe. You have everything from Brickell rooftop, Boca with the schools, Little River lofts, and yachts stacked up in Fort Lauderdale along the river. But here's the catch. Not every neighborhood actually gives you that South Florida dream. Some are absolutely booming, while others are just bleeding your wallet and your sanity. Miami-Dade grew 2.3% last year, fastest in the entire country. And even with new insurance reforms, costs are still sky high compared to the rest of the US. You might be kind of shocked when you get down here. That's why in this video, I'm gonna break it all down for you. We're gonna talk about the neighborhoods that are actually winning right now, the ones holding pretty steady, and the few you'll want to think twice about. Now, the question is, which one actually fits the life that you and your family are chasing? Now, here's the truth. South Florida isn't just one lifestyle. It's a dozen realities, all side by side. And it all comes down to the trade-offs. The neighborhood that actually looks perfect online and on Instagram can feel a little bit different once you actually get the bill, the traffic, and the flood map hits you. Brickell is all rooftop lounges, skyline views, and a city that never really sleeps. Then you have Boca. Kids at Spanish River Park, boats out on the water, and juggling carpool lines with your kids. In Aventura, the Bright Line and the Aventura Mall pulls you in, and Miami, you could be there in a couple minutes. While a few blocks east, neighbors are still laying out sandbags on sunny afternoons. The lens is simple: lifestyle, costs, commute, risks. Look through it all, and the glossy listings start to fade. One block feels like the future, the next one feels like it's actually stuck in the past. And then here's the twist. The buzz isn't in Coral Gables or Fort Lauderdale. It's actually shifting to places and neighborhoods that nobody expected. Those with warehouse murals, startups in old industrial blocks, and a completely new energy that's transforming the city. You want to see where Miami's energy is building? Forget the brochures. These two areas you're not gonna think I was gonna mention: Allapattah and Little River. I know, no one saw that coming. On Northwest 20th Street in Allapattah, warehouses are being splashed with murals, and galleries are starting to fill up old industrial spaces. The new food hall is also buzzing. Wynwood now feels like a theme park compared to this. I'm just kidding, but you can see the similarities. Allapattah is still a little bit underground, and that $5 beer here, it hits different, especially when it's so freaking hot out. Plus, you're actually surrounded by locals, not tourists. Little River's got its own pulse. Northeast 2nd Ave hums with some espresso machines by day, live music by night. Tech founders, artists, and longtime residents are now all sharing the same blocks. One of our clients actually ditched Brickell and like the high-rise living for a bike, and now his morning start with a cortadito right there at the corner heading into a loft office. That's actually the lifestyle you want to live here in South Florida. Now here's the contrast. You got Coral Gables, which is a little bit more buttoned up. Brickell is glass towers, nonstop energy and nightlife. Allapattah and Little River, messy, alive, but full of momentum. You can see the future coming here. Places where you don't just buy a home, you're buying into a movement and the future. Bottom line, these neighborhoods feel like your lane. Don't just scroll the listing. Actually go out, walk the neighborhoods with the people who know the blocks. We're a team here in South Florida, and we're on the ground every single day. Our information's in the description and on the screen. You can reach out, and let's match your lifestyle to the street and the neighborhood before everyone else catches on. Now picture this: you're on the platform at Miami Central, the train doors of the Bright Line slide open, coffee in hand, laptops out, maybe even a morning mimosa. 60 minutes later, you're in West Palm. That's the daily life now. This is what's shifting the map here in South Florida. Edgewater, Overtown, even parts of Brickell are pulling a premium because you can actually just walk right out your door, skip 95, and just walk to everything. Homes near these stations carry about a 2 to 4% value boost, and in South Florida, access is the new luxury. The split is clear. A client in Weston spends almost 3 hours a day commuting and sitting in traffic. Another in Aventura sold a second car. Now he grabs a cortadito from the cafe downstairs, answers emails on the train right there from the Bright Line station, and gets home stress-free, unless he's driving, because Ives Dairy is a nightmare. Same city, two completely different lives. That's the trade. Transit connected, living is faster, walkable, and predictable. Suburbs mean a little bit more space and definitely a little bit more quiet, but every errand puts you back behind the wheel. Be honest, Would you give up that extra bedroom, maybe a little bit of space, and the big driveway in the suburbs if it meant swapping out traffic for a maybe 30-minute train ride and a coffee in hand and you get to relax? Let me know in the comments. I bet half of you are split on this because it's still, you know, if you live out west, it's hard. But some of the neighborhoods don't need a train to prove their value. They've been strongholds here in South Florida for decades, and we don't see that letting up. Polished, reliable, and still drawing people here year after year. Now, some neighborhoods don't actually chase the spotlight. They've already earned it for years on end. For example, in Coral Gables, the prestige shows in oak canopies over Mediterranean facades, coffee and grab a bite to eat right there on Miracle Mile. Probably hit Hellstone because it's a go-to. And then you also have the elegance factor, but it comes at a cost. Some of these older homes do often mean higher insurance, but most of them are normally updated unless you do have to update them yourselves. Then, for example, Boca proves why families still plant roots. Some of the top-ranked schools, no matter where you look online, manicured communities, golf course communities, and on weekend, Meisner Park in downtown feel more like a cultural hub than a suburb that you really didn't think Boca had. With concerts and restaurants buzzing, even the bars. Predictability here comes with some pretty steep HOA dues, especially, you know, for those golf course communities like that of Broken Sound, but you're still, you know, being able to enjoy that lifestyle. Now, Fort Lauderdale tells the waterfront story. Yachts packed into marinas, Las Olas nightlife, the ocean literally minutes away. But condos are aging into milestone inspection years, and some costly reserves and, you know, assessments are upcoming. And clients are chasing that boating lifestyle quickly learn that dockage is just the start. Then you have out west. We have Weston, which runs at a definitely slower pace, but soccer fields glowing at night, baseball fields, kids biking until the street lamps flick on. Do they still do that nowadays? Neighbors chatting in driveways, too quiet for some, but others call it stability that they can really count on. People love living in Weston. Together, these places prove stability doesn't mean stagnation. For example, Coral Gables modernizes block by block. Boca blends culture with predictability, and then Fort Lauderdale keeps raising its skyline. It's gonna be the next big thing. While Weston doubles down on schools and parks, literally the land of parks. They're the anchors of South Florida living, but even anchors carry a couple cracks. And if the most established neighborhoods really do come with a little bit of fine print, the riskier ones tell an even tougher story. Not every South Florida neighborhood actually lives up to that postcard and Instagram lifestyle. Some look great on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning drive, but once you're actually holding those keys, the fine print starts to hit your wallet a little hard. The biggest trap? Those bad boys right behind me. Well, maybe not those exact ones, but it's aging coastal condos. Most of the condos out east. It doesn't matter whether you're in Miami Beach, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Boca, even West Palm. A lot of these condos are built in the 70s and 80s, and they're running into their milestone inspections. They need to have reserves, and then they have assessments. It's not uncommon to have 5-figure, maybe even larger assessments that, you know, can be negotiated, but they have to be paid off. We also have the HOA costs, which could rival a mortgage payment. Some of these HOA costs are in the $1,500 to $2,000 mark. Then we have insurance. So you do have to make sure, no matter where you're living in South Florida, your home has a new or newer roof, impact windows, not cloth sheath wiring, and you also have flood insurance. You need to know which road you're on because, for example, on different parts, one street over, you could be battling king tide flooding, the other street, perfectly dry. So you need to know exactly where you want to be, especially if you don't want your car to flood and you don't want to be paying sky-high premiums. That's the South Florida lottery. One block saves you, the next one sinks you, and then you got the sun that's beating down on you, just making you sweat your butt off. But here's the truth. The worst neighborhoods don't always look bad. You're not like, oh, look at that house, it's ugh. They're the ones that actually flip the dream to a drain overnight and drain in your wallet. That's why we track these risks block by block. Because in South Florida, one wrong street can change everything. The view might sell you and you love it, but the fine print decides if you stay and actually want to call it home. Now, this isn't about being the best or the worst anymore. It's really about the fit for you and your family. The same budget in South Florida can buy you completely different lifestyles. Think about this. We have the divide. So out east versus out west. And that's really out east versus west of 95. Walkable blocks, bright line stations, condo towers, where you can look straight out to rooftop happy hours, the beach, and the water. That's all out east. West, you have peace, bigger backyards, calmer streets, fewer sushi spots and happy hours, but a steadier rhythm. Which one actually pays you back every single day? And which one do you want to wake up in every day? The housing choice works pretty much the same way. The condo buys convenience, but you're at the mercy of the board and the HOA with surprise assessments and votes on things. Then the house really buys you control. The roof is your job, but so is the predictability, the space, and just really less rules. And that's what a lot of clients prefer. Now the schools twist the decision too. Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, all A-rated on paper, but anyone who's lived here knows that 2 blocks can really mean 2 completely different futures. Now, there's the lifestyle, and there's some trade-offs, and they're almost comedic when you kind of think about it. Rooftop cocktails with valet lines and Brickell, or backyard barbecues, plenty of parks in Weston, where the neighbor actually knows your name and your dog's name. Flash is fun until the bills actually hit and you see the real cost. Stability may look boring, but it's what actually lets you sleep at night and gets to go explore at the end of the day. And you're not buying just a zip code. You're actually buying the rhythm of you and your family's life. So here's the showdown. Are you gonna flex with some flash or sleep easy with stability? Let me know in the comments. This debate always splits the room, living out east versus living out west. In South Florida, the asking price is honestly just the cover charge. The real cost hides in the fine print. Let's take condos, for example. Brickell's newer towers, for example, usually have reserves in place. You don't have to worry about it. You can get a loan on them. But some of these older low-rise, mid-rise, even high-rise in Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, Miami Beach, West Palm, yeah, you could be in line for a $70,000 to $80,000 assessment. And if the building doesn't have reserves, good luck getting a loan. You're gonna have to put usually between 20 to 30% down. We really don't have any FHA or VA condos. Sorry to burst your bubble. Now, flooding tells the same story. The Miami Forever Bond was rolled out to help with pumps, raise roads, and tidal valves, but you could still see in an afternoon downpour, Miami Beach, Brickell, downtown still flood, and honestly other parts of South Florida as well, like Fort Lauderdale, Dania. Not as bad in Boca, Delray, and West Palm, but it's just something you need to be aware of. Now, insurance is no kinder. Reforms stabilized carriers, but premiums still remain far above the national average. One house in Fort Lauderdale, you're paying an $8,000 premium. Then the one right next door, $16,000 to $18,000, all because they have an older roof and no impact windows. Predictability here isn't boring. Predictability is freedom. South Florida isn't just one market. It's a dozen different lifestyles, all competing for that South Florida lifestyle. Some bring flash, some are a little bit more peaceful, others drain your wallet, and a few strike the perfect balance. We've seen it firsthand. One client actually left Brickell for Boca when the valet bills started to outshine the views, the skyline, and things to do. Another traded Weston's calm lifestyle to move to Fort Lauderdale to actually be on the water and be in the action. The best neighborhood is actually the one that fits you and your rhythm. The biggest mistake you can make, waiting too long, or picking a spot based on someone else's priorities and not your own. It's actually how you end up in the wrong lifestyle, the wrong neighborhood, and the wrong house. We're a real estate team here in South Florida, and this is what we do every single day. We know which condos have reserves you can actually get financing, which blocks just got raised by the Forever Bond, and which areas are about to blow up based on development and everything coming. You can call us, text us, or email us anytime. Our info is on the screen and in the description. Reach out, and we want to help you and your family match your lifestyle here in South Florida. And don't stop there. This video gave you the map and the blueprint. The playlist waiting for you now is the playbook to South Florida. Click it, dive deeper, and keep your momentum going. Find out what it's actually like here in South Florida. Thanks for spending some time with me today, and I'll catch you in the next video.